You are listening to the Zenith transmissions, channeled dialogues exploring consciousness, mutation, and the unfolding human story.
Transmission 4, February 6th, 2024. Settling into your chair, relaxing the body, and centering your mind. Take several deep breaths in and out the nose, releasing any tension from the shoulders and the neck, relaxing the jaw, allowing the breath to become a little bit deeper now. Feeling the energy flowing in the spine, bringing the awareness to that point between the eyebrows. Centering your concentration there. Allow yourself to access that highest source of information. Are you ready? Tell us about the energy centers.
There are many energy centers, but if you are asking specifically about the most common 7 that are worked with as the chakras, what would you like to know of each, or do you want to know of other energy centers?
Yes, the most common 7 chakras.
In the crown center, there is an upper chakra cavity, which is the connection, and the lower, which is the disconnection. In the center sits the divine, so moving into the upper register facilitates connection to the divine, and the lower chamber can bring a disconnection. This is a disconnection in perception of the vessel, not an actual disconnect. But the vessel chooses disconnection through their mind state or actions. Moving to the third eye chakra, there is an upper chamber which is trust, and in the lower chamber sits distrust. Both are held anchored in the center as knowing, but our knowing is steered by which chamber we reside in. Below the third eye chakra is the upper chamber of the throat chakra, which is the expansion chamber. The lower register of the throat chakra is the restriction chamber. Both are anchored in the center by expression, either in communication or action or energy. Below the throat is the heart center, which has an upper chamber of hope and a lower chamber of grief or despair. This is anchored in its center as love. Below the heart center is the upper chamber of the solar plexus. In the upper chamber sits surety. It is the confidence of the core. At its lower chamber sits insecurity, and it is anchored in the center by the self. Below the solar plexus sits the upper register of the sacral. In its highest form, the upper chamber of the sacral is fertility. The lower chamber is stagnant and entropy. This is anchored in the center by the void. Below the sacral center is the upper root chamber. The upper root chamber is connected, similar to the upper chambers of the crown, but this connection is reaching out to a different connection point. The root connection is to this life, and it dissolves at the point of departure from the body in the same way that it comes in not fully formed in the entrance of the body. The lower chamber of the root is this dissolving disconnection, but this lower chamber of disconnection is through choice and the will of the vessel. What else would you like to know?
How do we know if the chakras are out of balance?
What we call out of balance is what would be considered living in the lower chamber of the energy center. In truth, it is not so much an imbalance as it is a heaviness of spirit, dulling the vibrancy of the energy sitting in the center point. This is most easily or commonly referred to as the center being out of balance. Really, it is sitting in the lowest frequency of that center.
Are these the only centers?
There are more of these centers than just these 7, but they are the most commonly felt centers that we most easily perceive and feel when we sit in a high or low chamber.
Where are the other chakras located?
There is a center that sits in the arms at the elbow. There are points also that we have not considered yet in the exit points of the previously described centers. There are energy centers outside of the body and also in the palms and balls of the feet. There are others still, but these most people can intuitively feel if they tune into their connection points.
How do you raise the vibration for a particular chakra?
Most don't know that the lift point for grief is hope, or that the lift point for entropy is through the void. There are things that could be taught to more easily shift someone from one chamber into another. The center point of each center is the path to the upper chamber, but we have to look at where this is being stored. Just like the heart has 4 chambers, each chakra has 4 chambers: the front upper chamber and the back upper chamber, the front lower chamber and the back lower chamber. Where the energy resides is all affected by which chamber it sits in.
What do the front and back chambers refer to?
This is describing whether the form of expression is outward or inward in the vessel. When an upper chamber is active, but inward, it presents much differently than when an upper chamber is active, but outward, and so on. Is it active in yang form in the world presented by the vessel, or is it guarded in yin form and inactive in presentation, but active internally?
How do we activate the other chakras?
The palms can indicate that the energy is residing in the front chambers of the chakras. This is an outward energy, unless it is only in the left palm, in which the vessel is then receiving and not actively presenting. In the soles of the feet can indicate back chambers are active.
How do we awaken these chakras?
Awaken the palms or the feet.
The palms.
One or the other is typically always active. It is the most balanced for them both to be active, showing energy in both inward and outward presentations. But if it is only in the feet and not the palms, then this can be awakened by encouraging the vessel to be more forward in bringing to light each energy center. This is very complex. A vessel may outwardly present their crown, heart, and sacral, but inwardly activate their third eye, solar plexus, root, and throat. This is not wrong. Front is not always preferable to back. Ideally, we would be able to move fluidly between front and back chambers in all energy centers, moving with fluctuation and ebb and flow between the palms and feet, activating with activity running in both. But in the moment, if we need to shift to a more active palm presentation, the vessel could connect to it, allowing the energy center to be seen and experienced. For example, moving their energy outward or giving energy instead of drawing and receiving. There's also benefit to drawing and receiving energy. In drawing and receiving energy, the vessel may choose to move the energy into the back chambers and activate the centers of the feet. In doing this, the vessel draws and purifies and moves energy to transform and send this energy down through the feet into the earth.
How is this energy perceived?
Energy is perceived in different ways. Are you meaning visually perceived on the vessel as you are looking at it, or perceive even visually in your mind the energy as you are looking at them? Or feel from the energy in the centers? Others, when understanding this system, can watch behavior and derive from this information which centers are active. There are many forms of discernment that are specific to the vessel.
How can we visually see this energy?
You would need to be clairvoyant in a certain form of clairvoyance. If the seed is there, I am showing the channel to see through jellyfish-like egg where the body can be seen in such a manner.
How can we learn this sight?
In the same way that our mind fills in missing letters after memorizing language patterns in reading. If you know the patterns backwards and forwards to where you can perceive where the energy sits, and then immediately visualize this in your mind, and then perceive, and then visualize, eventually, like muscle memory, the mind will just see what isn't visible there, like filling in the missing letters.
How do we help people discover their spiritual gifts?
Everyone has spiritual gifts. A wise guide or translator should be able to see patterns in each vessel which can give clues as to their gifts. Often the gift lies in the areas of weakness.
How can we develop extrasensory perception?
Typically, extrasensorial perception develops through trial when a vessel must be ultra-aware of their surroundings. Looking at the forced adaptations that humans are placed through can point to what mutations have occurred to their DNA to produce certain giftings or perceptions outside the normal realm of sensing. This may appear over several lifetimes. However, a sense may come in a form like remembering or spontaneously when the gift is needed, which is what one might refer to as a gift coming online or being upgraded. What we see as intentional on our part is intentional on the part of the whole, but in reality we have very little to do with it other than being willing when the need for the ability arises. In some sense, an opening is intentional, and that is maybe the closest that one can come to intentional production of an ability.
These transmissions are for the future human, for the ones who feel the shift, who sense the children are different, who know the old paradigms can't hold what's coming.
This concludes today's transmission. Let what you've heard settle softly. The next begins when you are ready.